I think of my nuclear family with my father and mother and my siblings, and then having children and great grandchildren. But it's much more than that. We have our neighborhood families, our church families, families that we work with, families of people who come together and share ideas and thoughts and care about one another. It's a unit of love, bound together with love.
Family to me, very much like what Gail said, but it's people who have mutual interests and care about one another. I think there has to be respect in there. Family to me does not mean blood, as I have a brother who we adopted when I was 4 years old, and I have a daughter that I adopted. I have grandchildren that are adopted, and none of them are blood, but they're every bit as much family to me as those people that are blood with me. And so it's love, respect, mutual interests, people who basically have your back, that are there for you when you need them.
Yeah, so I'm adopted. So I have, there's total 10 siblings in my family, 10 including me. So I think it's kind of fluid between those three things, between being biological, being raised by somebody, and then the people that you choose to be your family. Because I do still have biological siblings and biological parents that I keep in touch with that I still consider family, but maybe just a little bit different than like a parental role. Yeah, I think you feel like you belong in a family when you feel accepted and loved. And I guess I will change what I said a second ago and say that you do feel accepted and loved unconditionally, but maybe not necessarily that people agree with you 100% of the time, but that you have a place where you are loved and thought of and cherished just for being who you are, just for having that connection to people.
Like an individual or people that I think want what's best for me and have that love and acceptance, and then just people that have my back, people that look out for what's best for my life.
I guess as a small child, I basically thought of mom and dad and grandpa and grandma. And of course, I never had a family without a sister because we were twins. So family always included her. And then when I had a brother, and then finally 12 years later had another brother, that became family. And over time, that small nucleus of a family grew to include many other people.
When I was a kid, I thought family just meant your nuclear family unit with, some extended family, but pretty much biological, with the exception of my brother. But what you're raised with is your family, what's in your environment, your home. And I've learned as I have grown older and learned to rely on other people that family extends way beyond the doors of my home.
So you have a very unique situation where you had a young woman at around 14, 15 years old that you actually adopted. So how did she end up belonging in your family, or how did that connection happen for you?
I think at first it started out as seeing a need and knowing that I could help with that need, that I had the resources and the ability to be able to help her. But over time, it just became part of us.
Yeah, growing up, I probably thought that family and belonging was, these are just the people that I was raised with. These are my siblings. These are my parents. But I met my biological mom at 21, and no, not 21, 19. And then I met my biological dad around 22. And so I feel like the belonging kind of expanded a little bit there. It kind of went beyond just like, okay, these are the people that I was raised with that I belong to, but also, here are these other people that I'm related to by blood that I feel like I belong to in different ways, like more of a blood connection. Like we like the same foods, we enjoy maybe certain type of humor more than the family that I grew up with, things like that we have in common more, I don't know, maybe more by nature than by nurture. But yeah, that was just interesting to see kind of shift as I got older, and then getting married and experiencing and adjusting and learning what it feels like to belong to this whole other family that also kind of came to be independently of me for the longest time.
Yeah, so that's been something I've struggled with for a long time. I always felt like growing up that I was kind of the odd one out when it came to academics, when it came to sports, when it came to just a lot of things in youth. And so I was the musical one. Everyone else was kind of more into sports. I was the one that didn't do well in school. Everyone else did well. And so for a lot of my life, I've kind of felt like I hadn't belonged in my biological family.
I usually try to find someone that I can share ideas with, or someone that is looking to have a connection. Often if I'm in a new situation, I'll see if someone's kind of distancing, seems to be alone, and I'll try to talk to them about some interests that they might have, and see if we have some things in common and some ideas and things that might be helpful to share.
When I don't belong, the first thing I do is pull back. But then I realize that there's probably somebody else who feels like they don't belong as well. And I kind of try to look for that.
And then more recently, I've kind of adopted the mindset of maybe I wasn't supposed to fit in. Maybe I'm actually born to stand out. And so kind of adopting that mindset and kind of that affirmation. And then I would say that more recently with, our business side of things, that it was kind of a belonging side of things there, where I walked in and I was able to see the values, the things that, these people stood for. And it felt like I was at home more than it does when I'm actually at home, quote unquote. And so it really rang true. And it just resonated a lot with me, the way that they spoke and the people that they are, and, what they support and what they stand for and whatnot.
I think that we all have, as humans, we have a need to belong, but even animals have herds and tribes. I think it's a very innate need as living beings. Even looking at ants building together on an anthill, we have a need to share and to support one another in order to survive.
Just if you feel like you don't belong, you're not alone. But that is not something that is just yours. Everybody goes through times where they feel like they don't belong.
Belonging is that feeling of love and acceptance, but again, not that people need to necessarily 100% agree with all of your decisions that you're making, but just that you belong because you just are, like you just exist, and that's what makes you a part of that family.
But just really having the perspective of looking at my strengths and looking at how I can impact our family and stand for our family. For instance, standing for unity, standing for love and peace and whatnot.